So our next major step in the construction of the roof structure is going to be adding those ceiling beams. So I think what we're going to do, we have a series of beams running in a couple different directions. And if we take a look at the images, you can see those beams running perpendicular to the lower beams, the heavier beams, and they run in a couple different directions. So if we were to take a look at the outside image, we can see the beams on sort of the left or the back side of the building, obviously running perpendicular to the L shape, but then they turn 90 degrees. So we know we've got two different beam structures. And in looking at different images in different places of the building, they do a couple different things. And it appears that the back side of the building behind the pool runs all the way through until it intersects with this beam. So we're going to go ahead and model that. And I think what we'll do is we'll start on that side to keep it fairly simple. We're gonna cheat a little bit. We learned in class the other day that the beam's height is about the same. So the column height. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab one of our columns. I'm going to make a copy and I'm going to move it out. And we're going to just edit a little bit. So one of the things that we do know is if we look at the structure, the flanges definitely look less pronounced than the big, heavy, wide flanges that we have. We don't need that much structure in the model. So we're going to come out and we're going to make some changes to that beam. So first thing I want to do is make my column unique, because we're going to play with it a little bit. And then we're going to just see how things look. We're going to open it up, and I'm going to just simply push the flanges in and see how far we want to go. I think it might be about 1.5 inches. And it didn't take my first dimension, so we're just going to double check and make sure that we get, yeah, the 1.5 inches looks about, I think that looks pretty good. So we're going to just shorten these all by 1.5 inches. And I'm doing a type in to make sure they go in. And that definitely looks more like a repetitive kind of ceiling structure. Still a little chunky, but I think it'll work. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to come in and we're going to rotate it so that we can start putting it into place. So I'm going to create my base just like I normally would, stretching out on the green axis, and I'm just going to rotate and type in 90 degrees. And now I can take my beam, or my ceiling beam, or more likely a ceiling joist kind of structure, and we're going to move it up to the model and get it right in place here. And it looks like that's where that mass starts. So you should be pretty good right there. It's kind of funny to see that tree in the background. And let's make sure, you know what's funny is we're not exactly sitting right on the structure, are we? So that's going to be an important step for us. So I think what we'll do is we're going to leave it. We're going to cheat just a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and just make sure that we do move the beam down onto the structure. Keep in mind that there is a cap on the roof, so this massing element does give us a little bit of room. And this is a detail that within a few inches for a rendering isn't going to make a huge difference. It won't affect a client's opinion. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up my beam, and I'm going to push the front face out, and it should come all the way out to this hidden line on the side. So we want to make sure that we're lining everything up exactly where we should. I missed it. I'll grab that, and then I'm going to come out, and we're going to try and connect it to the hidden line at the bottom. That gets a little bit screwy, but we'll slide out. And I'm hovering right over that hidden line that dictates where the end of the roof is. So you'll see it sort of snap in place. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy, and we're going to copy that structure all the way across the back side of the building. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to do this off of the model. So I'm going to hit my move command and control key, and I'm going to make a copy. Notice I'm dragging and locking into the red direction. Once I've got it started, I can type in 16 inches and hit enter, and then I'm going to type in x60. So we're going to make 60 copies, or times 60, which is too many, so I'll type in times 55. How about times, or x50? That's closer. I always like to copy a few more and then delete what I don't need. So now we know that these beams carry all the way through and across and should land somewhere around this one. So we're going to delete the extras. actually lined up pretty good. We're pretty close. Again, not working with structural documents. We're kind of taking some guesses. I think what we'll do is we'll take this beam and we're going to slide it over just so that it lines up to the edge of the model on this side. So the spacing will change just there to accommodate our structure. And I think we're starting to get something that looks like the Stahl house. So we're going to take another beam, and we've got to start working our structure back this direction now. So I think we'll do the same thing. We're going to copy our ceiling beam. Since we've already made one, we'll move one, and we'll make sure we do a copy, holding down the Control key. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So just on the ground, I'm going to use the ground as my reference, grab my base plane, and rotate 90 degrees. From there, I will move it into place, connected to the other beam, right on the outside of the building. Now, I'm going to guess that this one is going to be just a little bit too long. So what we'll do is we will zoom out, and sure enough, that is plenty long. We don't need all of that. So we're going to grab that beam. Now, if I make a change to this beam, it will change all of the other beams. So again, a reminder, we want to make this one unique, and then we can open it up, and we can push it back so that it lines up. Oh, wrong part there. Oh, we need to edit this one a little bit too. It's got some extra lines since we're using the bottom. So we're going to make sure that's okay. I did a funny little push there, and then we're going to push it all the way back to where it belongs. Now before I get crazy, I'm going to zoom out and just double check that I didn't mess up my other beams. So now what we want to do is this beam is going to run across the building until it gets to this point, and then the beam is going to get a little longer. We're going to edit it again. So I'm going to select Move, and I'm going to make a copy. And again, the same thing. We're going to move in the green direction, and I'm going to type in 16 inches, hit Enter, and type in X 30. I keep thinking I'll get better at that. Let's try X or times 25 times 22. Let's do times 23. We want one of those to run long. And that should give us our beam structure at that intersection. So this is where we get the change in our model. So these beams need to extend out so that we can create the overhang on the other side of the building. So you'll see that extending out beyond. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit and then zoom back in. Sometimes the controls do goofy things. And we're going to go ahead and pick that structure. I'm going to do something crazy too in a little bit. I'm going to make a big change. It'll be fairly easy, but I don't like how this met the exterior part of the structure. So I'm going to adjust the structure a little bit here in just a second, so don't panic. But what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and make this one unique. Again, we have to make sure we don't change the rest of them in the model. And I'm going to push it all the way out to where it lines up with that line. So now when we look at the images structurally, these beams come out and meet this one. And we found a picture right in there where you can see those beams are coming out and meeting the intersecting beams. Before I get too far, I kind of want to make sure that happens because that's going to clean up the look. And architecturally, in the middle of the building, we wouldn't want to alter the spacing. So this is a little tedious, but I'm going to go through and select all of the beams that I've made, and we're going to simply move them so that they're in the right place. In hindsight, I probably would have started with the beam at that intersecting location, and that would have made things a lot easier. But what we'll do is I'm going to get a place of reference that I know will work. I'm going to move my beam back. So I'm going to grab it from here. And I don't want to make a copy, so refrain from holding down the Control key. And we're going to just slide in until I can grab that reference point right there. And this is where it's really nice to be able to move and edit in SketchUp. So I'm going to delete that back beam. And the nice thing is our spacing is still good on the outside. We're still closing the building in. And now that we're done with that piece, we're going to cross our fingers and hope that it lines up close to where we are in the front. We're going to copy that beam. And we're going to do that 16 inches. I'm on the green axis. And we're going to do times 40. Let's see if we got close. Ooh, that actually was close. We'll stop with that one. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to delete these back to where we think our structure is. And actually, that's pretty close. That worked out really well. It's kind of coming together, I think. Not perfect, but for the sake of a rendering, I think we're really getting there. So that creates the basic framing components of our stall house. I'm going to zoom out. We'll take a look at the picture, but we should be able to clearly kind of see that structure starting to fall in line from the image to the actual model. Not bad, and it's kind of fun to do nonetheless. And let's make sure we do a file and save. We've done a lot of work. We don't want to lose it.